Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you guys doing? How you
I'm
doing?
good. How are you, man?
Good, good, good. Super stoked to be back.
We're back.
It's like it's been a couple months, but in one respect it feels like a long off season, and in the others it feels like yesterday. Right? We had a whole World Cup,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I mean I'm stoked. I'm excited to get back. Obviously some exciting news, some news drop, and we're here to kind of catch everybody up on the last few months of off season and talk about the schedule and some exciting stuff to come.
Yeah. Yeah, it is weird that we did fit in an entire World Cup and Christmas in our off season.
Yeah,
There was a lot going on. So it's good to be back. And then you look up and you get a schedule release, and the preseason is less than a month away.
I know.
And and
I know.
so here we are.
Here we
um,
are.
but we wanted to get together, wanted to get everybody together here on the pod. Welcome everybody back. Check in on the off season, make sure everybody's all right, and kind of give a little update. Super stoked about the schedule dropping, so we're going to get to that. We want to start off with a little bit news up top first. Nothing earth shattering here. Just kind of touching base and let everybody know. This is going to kind of be a little bit of a podcast / newsletter. I'm hoping to get a newsletter out tomorrow morning with some of this information. But most of the information is, hey, we're working on it. Right now, leadership is, we have a meeting next Wednesday that's going to put a lot of things into focus and really get things moving for right now where membership is coming up. I know that some people have asked about when the new membership is going to start. Our year runs through February 1st, our like fiscal year. So basically, right now we're at the end of last year, actually, even though it feels like the beginning of this year. So your membership from last year for 2022 is good through February 1st. So you're not going to get kicked off of Discord or anything like that. And then, so as far as membership is concerned, we'll get that up. And again, probably February 1st will be the date we'll open that up, or maybe a little bit earlier.
Oh yeah,
We
for
have
sure.
what comes with membership. We're working on scarves. That's already been, the art has been arted, and looks really awesome.
Yeah, it does.
I've heard, not seen what the theme is for this year, and I'm really stoked for it. So
Yeah, it's really
I think a
exciting.
lot of people will.
Yeah, me and Travis are kind of working together last couple, probably since about the new year, on throwing some ideas around, and he's done an impeccable job. There's still some work to be done, but yeah, definitely looking at memberships here. I'd say in the next week, maybe a little more. Definitely before February 1st, we want to get some of that stuff going, and then um, I've always been pretty transparent about this. It takes 4 or 5 weeks to get scarves, so we'll get those kind of get going as soon as we can, as soon as that design gets finalized, and we'll hopefully have those by mid preseason. So really stoked, really exciting to get that going again. And Tete, I see your comment. What's a membership? Our director of membership. Membership is, we're talking about structure right now, kind of how we want to do things again. This season, last year, we had a free membership and a paid membership. There's been some ideas thrown around, and I think they're a little too preliminary to share here. But membership is basically joining us and supporting us in what we do. That could be monetarily, it could be free, just by supporting us and promoting us on social media and putting our name out there and participating with your time and your voice. But it's basically supports what we do, supporting the club. Like what we do costs money. Hosting a website costs money. Doing tifos, all maintaining drums, like all that stuff costs money. And so, memberships is basically monetarily supporting how we support the club and how we build culture and how we build community. So that's kind of my definition of what a membership is. And that's going to kind of go back up for renewal here, I'd say within the next week. I think that things will kind of be ready by then. If I'm wrong, you can crucify me for it on next week's podcast. But so it's really exciting stuff. I love this time of year where things really start getting going again. The tank has been full from a little bit of a break in the off season, so I'm like fired up.
Yeah, so we're the full tank. We've got and we're getting ready, thinking about like drum circles, right? We haven't chanted together in a while, so we're going to be working on coming up with some dates to get people together and practice with the drum line. Maybe if people want to try and be a little more vocal this year, I think that somewhere down the line they would want to have responsibility with any of that, come on out. If you were a little scared, you didn't want to jump in because it was game day and you didn't want to mess anything up or be off beat, but you thought maybe you want to join the drum line, look toward those drum circles, which we'll be announcing dates coming up. Again, nothing concrete, but we want to really get tuned up before the season starts.
Yeah, and we always try to work those in, side by side with Chavo. So it's always we're talking to them. We're trying to set up when their availability is, when our availability is. So Nick's kind of, Nick, director or stadium operations, he's really spearheading all that work. I know I'm working on a new song or two. I know Nick said he's working on a new song or two. We're trying to bring a couple new songs into the drum circles this year. Plus, it's a good reminder to say, if you guys have any song ideas and you want to bring them to, do you want to bring them to 109? That's your spot. That's your spot to really come and say, hey, I got this song. This song is dope. And there was a couple last year. It's like on the bus, in the middle of the bus. Like, I'm going to teach the song. Like, it's great. I love the enthusiasm, but you've got to show up to drum circles, as it's the best time and like the only time that we can sit down with the drum line and go, hey, this is how we want to do things. When the capo starts this song, this is how it goes. And like, these are the lyrics. Like, that's the best and pretty much only place that you can really introduce a song into kind of the 109, rhythm and beat. So that I really encourage, if you guys have ideas, to come out. There's nothing to be shy about. There's nothing to be, oh, this song's done, whatever. No, like, we need new songs. We need new flair. So please come out. It's really, really important.
Yeah, that is, like you're saying, that is the place to do it. Like, I know we had a lot of discussion last year about it, but it is, you're kind of mid-season. You're like, okay, we can't just decide that our new thing mid-season is before every game we're going to sing a different Beatles song or whatever. Like it's got to.
For sure, but come to a mid-season drum circle.
That, for sure.
Or come to a mid-season drum circle, but don't,
right.
Let's not do that at parking lot or whatever, because that's not where all the drum people are. And like, it's just a little too hard to work it out there. And maybe this season, we can work some of that stuff, but if you really have good ideas and you want them to come to fruition, drum circles are the place to do it.
And those are the people to give you the momentum too.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
We can all sit and talk about it and be like, yeah, that'd be cool or whatever. But like, if you get the drummers behind you and you get a beat behind it and you get it figured out, that's how these things end up in rotation, not just by talking about it on Discord. So
totally agree.
So you mentioned parking lot. We'd love to have one opening day. Same with the TIFO. We like to go big for that opening day. Now we know that it's going to be March 11th. So, still got to clear that with USD, but go ahead and pencil on your calendar. Come out a couple hours early, hang out with us at the parking lot. Also, even before that, preseason was just announced that we are going to be playing LAFC at Bank of California Stadium, and there will be tickets. That is not closed to the public. It is open to the public, and we are the public, and we are planning to maybe go. So keep an eye out, because we got to figure out if we're going to do a bus trip. That'd be, everybody loves the bus trips. There's a lot of work that goes into that. And there's, things like it only being a month away. And we don't know if everybody wants to bus up for preseason or is able to go. So we're going to take a couple different polls, a couple different places, and see if we can get 50 people for the bus, if it makes sense. But keep an eye out for that. And then we'll get into the schedule here, because I know that's what people are here for. But we'll have road trip ticket info coming out. If you have any event ideas, we are meeting with Loyal Events and Philanthropy to kind of like make a schedule. So if you have something, I know somebody mentioned last year to me, I forget who it was, that they like run a soccer tournament and need some volunteers to like volunteer at it. Like, let us know, man. That's what we're here for. We're here to support the Loyal, and that's our main mission. But we are a community now. We're kind of a big part of the San Diego soccer community, and we want to help you out. We want to help locals out. Like, that's the point of being a local, in my opinion. So let us know if you have something and need some volunteers, or you have something soccer related coming up. Let us know.
For sure.
And beyond that, let's jump in. We'll talk a little bit more. Our road games that we're going to talk about. K Burrows obviously has our arms open wide for us for watch parties. And we're working on another North Park area. It's fair play area, soccer bar to host us. So we have to lock some things down there, but we are trying to get there, just so you know. So we'll have a couple spaces. However, we don't have anywhere yet for North County. So I know you North County folks are always kind of trying to get a bug in events ear and figure that out. And maybe there's a place or two. If you are in North County and you've got a place, whether you're Escondido, San Marcos, Oceanside, Carlsbad, wherever, like let us know, and we'll try and we would love to have a partnership up there with somebody so that you guys aren't constantly driving an hour to get down to our watch party. So we have kind of a spot that everyone can get to and participate. So all right, that's enough out of me. Let's get to the schedule.
Let's do it.
I don't know if we have a graphic or not. If we have it in front of us.
The schedule itself.
Yeah.
Everybody we can just talk through it. Let's see.
Pulled up.
Ooh, but okay. No, I mean, supporters group focus. We'll kind of go through some of the, kind of run down the rest of the show here. We'll talk about schedule in a SG focus kind of manner. Travel days, parking lots, that kind of stuff. Kind of run through the schedule, and then I think we'll kind of go back through it and talk team focus.
Hang around because we are. I did promise you guys, Dylan and Max, they are here waiting in the wings with thoughts.
We gotta fly through this, Jason.
More technically, so let's get through this schedule.
Yeah.
So if initial thoughts, what do you want to do? Initial thoughts? What do you want to do? You want to do first
let's
game?
Do initial thoughts.
Let's do initial thoughts. Go ahead. I know you've got
initial thoughts. Yeah, I mean initial thoughts. Like you said at the very beginning, February 4th preseason. That's damn early, right? And SDSU, I don't think that venue's been announced. I don't know about attendance yet. So we're still waiting on a couple things for preseason from the club. At least formally, attendance on some of these preseason matches. But yeah, LAFC is the one that we know we can go to. So that's really exciting. But it's just a preseason. It is preseason, but again, it's really soon, and it's kind of a way to get back together and reignite this fire. So even though it is like I said, just preseason, it's still exciting.
It is, and it's interesting to see how we are part of the bigger soccer landscape now. Look at those Indio games. I guess it's kind of like all levels of soccer getting together up there. So
yeah,
pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then regular season. I mean, I love the first week of the season we have a home opener. It's a huge match. Detroit City. We've never played Detroit City before. I think that they were pretty good last year. Again, we'll talk about the team focus in a little bit, but parking lot for sure. We're definitely going to be working on a tifo. It was a tifo that we were going to try to pull off at the playoff game last season, but some circumstances didn't really work out for us. So we're going to kind of reuse the material and reuse design and make it pop. So we will need help with that. There's a lot coming up before the season really gets rolling, but tifo for the first match for sure. And then supporters group focus. Phoenix is the next match. It's one of the biggest matches of the season. It's a Sunday afternoon match. Always like those Saturday night ones better, but it is what it is. Phoenix usually rolls pretty deep into San Diego. So that's going to be a huge one right off the bat. As far as how we show up, how we show out, how we support the team. Potential for parking lot 2 weeks in a row. I don't think that it's off the table. I think Sundays are usually a little harder for a lot of people to make the earlier, to Torero, but it's a huge match. And if we can kind of keep the momentum rolling from week one, I don't think it's off the table. I think it's something that we considered. And I think it's something that we will continue to consider. So definitely not, pen on your schedule, but maybe something to keep in the back of your mind. And then I'm not going to go through this super slowly, but Jason, one of the first things you noticed when you saw this was the away trips. So I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's my events, the events background here. As I look at this, and we just admit this first month and a half is just chock full of all the good stuff. So you got Phoenix. For those who went last year, will tell you how great that was. That might have been. They're in Vegas. I guess Vegas was probably the biggest turnout that we had. But I know Phoenix was a big turnout too. And the cool thing about these, if you've gone or not gone, is we do our own thing. We get out there, we have friends, and then you meet up. And because we're standing there with a flag and chanting, all of the loyal people who might not necessarily be locals kind of generally end up coming over to us. So we're like, I looked at it, I was like, oh, we're taking like 12 people, but then we ended up with 40 people in our section, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that Ricardo was going to be there, and him and his family were going to come sit with us, and Weston was there, and he came over with us, and Dylan, and there were people who had friends that were San Diego transplants in Phoenix didn't know anything about us and they ended up coming over. So these things,
Mhm.
get bigger as you get there, and that was really awesome. So that's a trip that I would really love to do. Unfortunately, I'm busy that weekend, but I would tell everyone that that's a great one to do.
That's on our
Um,
calendars.
and
That's on our
it's on our
calendars.
calendars for sure. And then Sacramento, who we've played in meaningless games the last two, well, I guess 2 years ago wasn't really meaningless, but because it actually ended up costing us a home game. But that last game of the season can be a little bit tricky, and they moved it up to the first away game of the season,
Yeah.
which is equally as tricky. But we know people that went and had a good time there, even though the game wasn't great. So Sacramento is another one. If you catch one of those Southwest, I'm so sorry, sales right now, and you can get up to Sacramento. That's a good spot to go. And all of these, early season games are kind of, this is where the momentum starts, right? So, these places are going to be packed out. It might not be in Phoenix by the end of the season, but early on, they pack that place out.
Yeah.
And same with Sacramento. Sacramento had a great year last year. But sometimes it gets to August, just like baseball. You get to August and you're like, maybe not so much. But these first games are going to be bangers. We're going to get New Mexico, tough away game. And we had friends there. We were really hoping that one, honestly, would be spread further out.
Yeah.
Just from an events, again, a travel day standpoint, we were hoping that one would be a little more spread out. And we could really do it big. We'd still love to. I mean, I would love for everyone to go to every one of these road
Yeah.
games, right? Especially New Mexico. They're great fans. They're great people. They're great SGs, I should say. They've got a real culture out there. And then do we get a break on our next road game? No, it's the bus trip. So by May 6th, we have 3 doable road games against Western Conference rivals, and then we've got Orange County on May 6th that we will be doing a bus too. So
Yeah, it is such a bummer because I mean I've been telling myself for years, oh, I really want to make New Mexico. That New Mexico trip sounds amazing. And a couple years ago, it like just perfectly didn't work out. And then last year, I had way too much going on with the pregnancy and everything going on, so like that wasn't happening. But then this offseason was like, I'm absolutely going to New Mexico for sure. That sounds like such a blast. But it's sandwiched between 2 other away trips that I really
Yeah.
want to go to Phoenix.
Yep.
And then obviously the bus, and I have 2 kids, and like it's probably a little too much for me to make it work. I'm gonna keep looking. I'm gonna keep trying to
Hope you
just in
should.
my
You
brownie
hope. I
points,
mean,
but
you try, right? Because
it's
these other
it's a
games,
lot. It's a lot in a row. That's
yeah, and these
that's the
other
bummer
games
of
are
this is that
Saturdays that we're
it's
fill up
4 of
with,
the
right?
it's 4 of the really quick away trips that we all wanted. We're all like, oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
They're just right up front, and then there's a bunch. At the bottom of that graphic, there's a bunch of East Coast games
Mm-hmm.
that it'd be nice if New Mexico and Hartford swapped, right? Like something like that.
Yep.
It'd just be perfect.
Yep.
But it's just not the way the cookie crumbled, and it kind of is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
But then
So
looking at that next stretch, we got 3 away, 2 at home, and then 4 away, and that's a brutal stretch. Not just for club stuff, like we'll get to as far as an away, um, kind of stretch goes for the club, but for us, I mean, last season we had that stretch where the one game got canceled. We weren't in Torero for 2 months, and this is
yep.
2.5 months with 2 games that are both awkward dates, right? We have a Friday and a Wednesday.
Yep.
It's not like it's let's go hard on that one Saturday game. It's a Friday and a Wednesday. And yeah, Friday could be fun, Friday night lights, that kind of excitement. And then Wednesdays, I mean, from my perspective, I love Wednesday matches because it's like the 109, the crazies come out. It's like all the diehards are there and we go hard.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite memories are Wednesdays, but it's still, it's not, they're not always as well attended. It's just little bit of a different vibe that can be some people's favor, like mine. And some people are like, oh man, that sucks. I can't make that Wednesday. So like, I get that it's a bummer for some people. So it is what it is, but that's a brutal stretch for us supporters group wise. And I think we're going to have to really work hard, communication, social media, watch parties to keep that momentum going and leading into August.
Yeah. It's a rough one. And then doesn't get easier. June 24th through July 14th there you see for us away. And this is kind of where I'm looking like, man, if it wasn't Pittsburgh, Indy, Hartford, Colorado, and Colorado being on a Friday, Again, we suggest you guys get out there if you can. Cool little trip, and you haven't seen them for a while. And then there's a break that like a 2-week break there. But again, it's a Friday, and like
Yep.
that's when we could have, we could have really gotten in there if that was a Saturday and really hyped that up because there has, at that point we won't really have had an away day. Now, what I would say is for people looking, that Oakland Roots game, Memorial Day weekend.
I blew right over that. Good one.
Yeah, that's okay. But that one, that's another one that we'd really love to get people out to. Roots, as we all know, have just murdered us. Our first, basically 3 years in the league here. Even when we beat them, we barely beat them. They come back and tie in the like 100th minute for whatever reason. There's 100 minutes of extra time. And we thought we had them beat last year because we scored in the 92nd minute or whatever, and then they scored in the 97th. Mm-hmm. So, that's Roots. That's becoming, if not a rivalry, they're just kind of frustrating, right? Just piss me off. But again, with their SGs, I love what they've got going on. I love what they're building. So I do not hate that team. I want to, but I really like what they're building. And that's again Memorial Day weekend. So if you've got the ability, that's what I'm taking a look at. I think I just looked at Southwest. They do have a little bit of a sale going on right now. So those are like $80 each way. I think maybe we'll talk to Dylan later. I think you went ahead and pulled the trigger on it already. So that's definitely going to look at. You're in Oakland, hop across the bay, check out San Francisco, do the whole weekend. That's a good spot.
Yeah, I did the. Me and Lydia did the Oakland trip a couple years ago, and it was phenomenal. We stayed in Jacqueline and Swear area. Everything's walkable. We walked to the stadium. Highly recommend. It was a great away trip. Highly
that's a good one. But then we looked through June, July. Not a lot there.
Yeah. August is packed at home.
Nobody
can make any plans in August.
Yeah, tell everyone you're not available in August any weekend. And midweek, right? Is that one of those? Is midweek? I see a 5 and a 9. So, so we got a Saturday and a Wednesday. And then away, and again, these big. First thing I said to Ricardo when it came out was, you guys are going to be for sure in your platinum air miles because this is crazy. You got that first road trip, right, where they go to Pittsburgh. And then obviously they fly home. Then they go back to Indy, and then they fly home. Then they go to Hartford, then they fly home. Then they go to Colorado on that Friday. So, yeah, they're getting there.
Gnarly.
They're going kind of all over. And then same thing that September stretch, where they go to Rio Grande, home for Birmingham, and then Charleston, Louisville, Monterey Bay. And unfortunately, sorry to say, again to everyone here, that Monterey Bay game is a Wednesday. So another one that people went to last year, loved, seemed like everybody had a really awesome time. I think Jerry met up with players or players' families out at the breweries there in Monterey. So just killer that's on a Wednesday. And not like a summer Wednesday, so it's not like teachers or something could make it. Like it's if it was summer and it's like, oh yeah, we're off, we'll go up there for the a long weekend. Or a full week. But no, it's in the middle of September. So, and then Vegas is the last game of the year. So hopefully that will be meaningless because, we'll have the number one spot all wrapped up. But if not, Vegas is always one that we circle. So just so you know, that one's going to be in October this year, and we'll definitely be doing that big. So those are just running through. Those are my thoughts event-wise, road trip-wise.
It's worth noting.
Worth
noting that the Open Cup is usually, I think it's April 5th through like the 7th is the first round, and then the second is April 19th, 20th, something like that.
Yeah.
So nothing official there, but obviously last year we had the match here locally, and then we went up to LA Galaxy and we did a bus trip for that. Obviously we're gonna have to play all this by ear with where things are, where the draw ends us up, and where that ends up being played first round, and then expecting a win in the first round to play in that second round again. Don't know. I know that all possibilities last year were Phoenix or Tucson, or we ended up getting Galaxy. So
Strikers.
Who knows where that ends up, but we'll see.
Yeah. So there's a good chance probably it'll be around that same area, but might have Fresno. We play the Fuego in preseason, depending on what I haven't looked and seen what they might already be out because they've started the Open Cup already with those the lower division teams. But maybe we go. Maybe it's a Fresno. Maybe it's a OC again. Maybe it's LA, and maybe it's Tucson. Maybe it's Phoenix. So we can hope for that. But again, that you're talking about impacting again if we play either Albion or Fitzcarral's bad or whoever in the first round. That's probably that April 1st through 8th. Throw another game in there between Phoenix in our home game, and then throw another game in somewhere around between Tampa Bay and El Paso. So um, it's always a frenetic start to the season. I think we can get used to that as long as we're in the USL and have these Open Cup games. So I think that's pretty much from an SG standpoint, really what we wanted to look at, and just let you guys know that we are thinking about these things. Some of these longer ones, I'll let you know. I don't want to overpromise, but we'll probably do some sort of bigger watch party kind of thing, and one of those long ones we haven't seen each other for a while. So sometime in July we'll probably plan some a little bit bigger, kind of like we did last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, but we do want to bring in Max and Dylan, who if you've kind of seen through Discord or maybe through the um, social medias, then why are Max and Dylan on? Max and Dylan on for a specific reason, because they're going to be starting a new podcast as part of our network. We're going to be going to a little bit different format that's kind of been evolving from Steve and Jerry and Drew getting us through the pandemic. Thank you so much for that. I know it was you guys and what Bert Kreischer and Call of Duty got me through the pandemic. So I want to thank everyone who did 3-hour podcasts then. And then it became a little more structured last year, and this year we're trying something a little bit different, evolving a little bit more. So just what we'll do is have kind of individual podcasts, just so you guys know. And Dylan and Max are going to be doing some post game stuff, like we used to have with the post game live. Not quite to the level that Darren and Jordan did it.
Hey, well, you never know.
We'll see if it gets to that. Starting off, I don't want Dylan's like starting off. We're just gonna get some post game thoughts. I think will probably be what that looks like. But these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to soccer, and they know more about the USL than I care to. So they are going to be doing some tactics breakdowns as well with some midweek shows. So they've got a lot on their plate this year, and we're real excited for it. I kind of snatched up Max, said he was kind of looking to do something like that, and sent him a DM real quick, like, "Hey man, we'll have you. Let's do it." So here we are. So welcome, Dylan and Max, and I'm going to let you guys go ahead and just kind of see what you think from, if you know, kind of a tactics standpoint. When you look at this schedule, we looked at it kind of from the supporters. And we want to see what games you're looking forward to, who to watch out for, if you've thought that through, that kind of stuff. Welcome. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, Dylan, I'll let you go first too.
Sounds good. How's it going, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Welcome back. It's good to be back doing this again. I guess looking at the schedule, the thing that jumped out to me the most is how we got a lot of conference rivals, like the home and away, really close to each other, and even in one instance, back to back. I think that's pretty shitty, honestly. It feels kind of amateur hour for me personally. But I think too, if you want to get into it from like a more kind of diving into the game standpoint, playing a team like Phoenix, both of our games against them early in the season, is probably a good thing if you're just looking at it from the standpoint of trying to win those games, because their coach now, Juan Guerra, was the coach of Oakland, who he established that Oakland team that we can't beat. So if they get time to gel, they're going to be a struggle for us. So playing them early in the season in that regard is a good thing. But then if they do get gelling and we run into them in the playoffs, we have not seen them since April. So that, double-edged sword there. So I don't love that. In addition to Phoenix, we have San Antonio on June 3rd and 14th. We have Colorado Springs literally back to back, July 14th and 29th. and then Monterey Bay September 20th and 30th. So that was what jumped out to
10
me.
days.
Don't love that at all.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, going off Dylan there, obviously I think for me the worst part here really is after the Miami game with the Oakland, San Antonio, Sacramento, San Antonio again. The whole stretch there, I mean, it's going to be tough, especially kind of midway through the season too. And obviously that long away stretch too, obviously going out to the East Coast and then back to Colorado, then playing them back to back too. I mean, luckily, obviously that home stretch kind of in August too, a lot of those games are on the easier side of things. Obviously, I don't think any game in this kind of league is going to be too easy, really. So it's going to be interesting there. But yeah, obviously that big home stretch kind of later down the line will help us, I think. But definitely looking at kind of early on the season too, it isn't going to be easy, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, go ahead, Steve. Go for
I'll
it.
chime in and I'll talk to the back-to-back stuff too, because I think I brought that up on Discord and I've been looking at that too a lot. And Dylan, we were chatting about that, but like I see it as both ways, kind of like you said. If let's say we start the season hot and we're these back-to-back matches, even not even starting the season, but we play San Antonio pretty much back-to-back. If we're healthy and in form and we play both those games well, that's a great sign. But if we've got a couple injuries and we're struggling, we're going to get murdered 2 games, really fast. That's bad. That's bad for momentum, especially going into, the second half of that big road trip. So like, I see it as both sides. I think it's really highly dependent on health and form. If we're really rolling, you can take down a good team twice in quick succession. If you're struggling, that could kick you further down the hill where you don't want to go. So I don't love it. I wouldn't say I hate it, but I don't love it either. That's for sure.
Yeah, not something you see very often is, there's a 2-week break in there, I guess, between Colorado Springs playing them twice, but they are back-to-back games, right? So
Yep.
Maybe, I don't know if they rest up and watch a lot of tape of their previous game and just run it back, but that's wild.
Maybe if we make a really deep Open Cup run, that'll be a good spot for a game.
Yeah, maybe that's what they have that open for.
Yeah, optimistic, right?
Yeah.
A lot of
so maybe throw LA
fly home and
Galaxy
play the next
in
day.
there between those two.
Yeah, gonna fly home and play the next day.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Rough. It is what it is.
As far as games I'm excited about, though, I love that Detroit is our home opener. I'm super excited to play them for the first time ever. They're a club that I think represent a lot of what we all love about the lower leagues of soccer here in the United States. And I'm also psyched that I'll get to see us play them and not have to fly all the way to Detroit to see it. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah, that's exciting. I wonder if we're going to get any traveling supporters, that kind of stuff. I think I'll start making some contacts there and seeing if anybody's planning to make the trip to, escape the late winter of Michigan and come out to sunny San Diego. Well, maybe if we get some sunshine.
Right. I'm sure they're bummed that
They're
going to be here like the one time of year that it's not going to be warm, probably.
Yeah.
But wwhatever, it's still probably going to be warmer than Detroit.
I'm sure let us know. I'm sure that the Northern Guard will let us know how much San Diego sucks. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
I'm sure they will. Another point on, the Phoenix stuff early in the season. I think that, I like that a little bit because we have a lot of returning players, and Phoenix really struggled last season. I think they brought in a lot of new players to kind of make up for that. So I think we could hit the season running, and they might take, like, Dylan, like you said, take a little bit of time, new coach, new players, new system, new time to kind of get things to click. We might be able to take advantage of an early season run of form, and they might take their time. But yeah, fair point about not being able to see him again. We won't be able to see him until the playoffs eventually. So, and I think last year was a fluke.
We don't.
Yeah, last year was a
fluke.
But yeah,
if we don't see
last
them
year was
in the
a fluke
playoffs,
with how bad they were.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too. I hope we don't either, for sure. For sure.
So are there other teams, Dylan and Max, that you're looking forward to? I know even for us, there's some, Miami FC we haven't played yet, right? Like there's going to be, I don't think we played Pittsburgh last year. I know it was kind of hazy, but I don't think Pittsburgh was in there. Trying to see who else here might be for the first time. Did we play Memphis last year?
I don't think we did.
So.
I don't think
so.
Was Luden as what? Another one? Luden United?
Yeah, and they're terrible, so.
Yeah, so this is, as far as I understand, they're now not part of DC United. So someone kind of bought the Luton brand and is now trying to, and they have 0 players because they were all DC2 players, and they're trying to get that together from what I've seen.
The same
Yeah.
thing would have happened with Las Vegas too, right? Because they were
Yeah.
LAFC affiliated.
Vegas too,
and
as
all of
far
a
as we
sudden-
know, Vegas has 0 players as well.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, who knows? I mean, it's also, I did the research on like, oh, how good were these teams in 2022? But there's so much turnover and in roster and coaching that it's almost a fool's errand to do that and kind of like, oh, this team was good last year and maybe they'll be bad next year because 2021 OC won the championship and last year they were pretty terrible. So like, you never really know what you're gonna get. Although they did break our hearts, but you still, what I mean. You're still gonna. It's a little bit hard to base that off of previous performance or previous players, that kind of stuff, unless you really track who's going and you really understand that kind of stuff. And I certainly don't have the time to do that. But the point being, it's the teams that are going to be good. San Antonio, I would include Phoenix in that. They've been good for years, and I'd say last year was pretty much a fluke. Louisville's going to be really good. Colorado's going to be pretty good. You got your same players every year that are going to be at the top of those tables, but it is sometimes hard to predict. So you really never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah, I think Colorado will be an interesting one too, as well, especially losing kind of 3 of their key players as well.
Yeah.
Obviously goes to show that we can produce obviously good players in this league as well.
That's right.
Which is kind of tough as well. Yeah, you don't really want to. It's tough in this league again. If the players are too good for the league, they'll leave. Obviously, they need to be good enough to play at the level. But it's always tough, isn't it? You want to bring good players in, but you got to make sure you don't bring in players that are too good, which is
right.
kind of a double-edged sword there.
Yeah,
a lot of turnover, but that's something to think about for me as far as those early season games, right? I don't know what other teams, payroll and their roster looks like, but for us to bring back 17, I guess 16 now since Blake has moved on, but to bring in 16 players and run it back, you would think that would give us an edge early in the season.
I think the CBA being ratified during the last season has had a noticeable impact on turnover. Like, don't get me wrong, it's the USL. There was plenty of player turnover, but I think it was noticeably less than in previous seasons, and not just for Loyal, though they were still an outlier. I wanted to say, though, that going back to new teams that we're playing, I know we've played Tampa before, but I'm very excited to have them at Torero. They're like a proper historic team in U.S. soccer. I know we played Charleston at home last year, and they are as well, but they were pretty bad last year. So Tampa are like a competitive, historic team. I'm pretty excited about that one, just to have them at home.
Yeah, that's pretty early in the season too. That's like our first, as far as like points goes from last season. If I just kind of argue that it's meaningless, but if you look at, they had 67 points last year. They're the first team we play that actually scored, had more points than us, 60 points. And then we don't see another team that had more than us until San Antonio. So there's a good run there that, teams that we were better than. Obviously we were second in the West. So like there's not that many teams that had more points than us, but it's still worth noting that, we play. That's our first team. I think that's probably our first big challenge as far as, going off of form of last year. Like I said, I expect Phoenix to be good again, but I'm not sure about early in the season with the advantages that I talked about earlier. So we'll see. I don't know, but it is. Yeah, I'm super stoked for that one. That's another Sunday match. I think I did the breakdown. What is it? We have 4 Sunday games, 2 Wednesday games, 1 Friday game, 10 Saturday games. So the 4 Sundays is more than we had last season. 2 Wednesdays, I think we only had 1 Wednesday last year. Or maybe it was 2, and then that one was canceled. Friday is the first, and then obviously the Saturday games. It kind of is what it is. The schedule's, I would say, not perfect or ideal by a lot of measures, but there's bright sides to look at too.
It's good to just see. It's good to have something back and to be able to talk about and kind of turn the page from last year because, they needed the page turned on it.
Oh, yeah. Don't give me Oakland in the playoffs again.
Yeah, for real. Was that Andrew's fault when he said it on the Always Loyal podcast?
Yeah,
think
I
it
don't
is.
know
Yeah,
what
I
he
think we can
was.
just blame him.
I mean, I get the
The-
logic, but like,
the
come on, man, you
bravado
had to
of-
know. Yeah,
No, man, I don't want the team that always beats us.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you.
Same with Monterey. As the season was going down last year, I was like, don't give me Monterey. Monterey kicked our ass twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Monterey, though, I do want to say, like, shout out to everybody who went last year. I was there, and with Jerry and everybody, and Nick. I remember Weston was there. It was a great time. Monterey is another club in addition to Oakland that I have a lot of respect for what they're building up there. That little stadium they have is fantastic. And so I saw somebody shout out Superfan Dan in the chat. He is genuinely the man. So if you're going up there, like, reach out to somebody in the locals who was up there last year, because they can link you up and he will take care of you. So like, it sucks that it's a Wednesday, but yeah, Monterey is another club that, like, whenever I can, I will try and do that.
Yeah, definitely. And there are those supporters around too. So New Mexico, had 3, maybe 4 people there yelling as loud as they could in I think they had 12,000 in that stadium that day. Might have set a record. So that place gets packed out. But again, the other supporters groups around the country that are doing it right and doing it well. We know how much goes into it, and to be able to meet up and link up with them, there's definitely a camaraderie there. Even if it's different. I'm in the middle of American football season, being a Philadelphia fan and an Eagles fan, and like, we're not getting together at Dallas tailgates. Like, we're not. But the way that I think there's kind of a mutual respect within soccer supporter culture is very different, and we all know what we put into it. We're all kind of in the margins together, right? And so that's when you see Sacramento go on a little run in the Open Cup. You kind of see everybody put on their USL hat and hope for the best for them. And at least, if not for the team, for some individual supporters like Superfan Dan, you got to be happy for him when Monterey wins.
Definitely.
Yep. All right, so you guys got anything more on the schedule? If not, I'd like to revisit the shows a little bit more. We still got some time here, and then I think we can kind of journey into a wrap up. But anything more on the schedules? We can transition.
No, I think we're good on the schedule.
Sweet. So,
just got to win them.
Let's win all
34
34. That's my.
There we
Just
go.
win.
Yeah.
Just win.
So Jason kind of touched on it, and we jumped into schedule stuff. But I want to hear more about what you guys' ideas are. So kind of touched on 2 shows. One kind of post game show. You gonna do that like live in the stadium, or are you gonna do that like, gonna jet out of there and get home? Like, how's that gonna look? And then let's talk about that midweek show too. You want to do like video and that kind of stuff, or you want to like let's just kind of talk about, let's clue the audience in on what your ideas are, and what you guys have met up and talked about.
Max, do you want me? I'll talk about the post game show if you want to talk about your ideas for the midweek tactics.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the post game show. I don't think the idea really is to do it live, though. Maybe for some bigger games, we'll see what we can do. It's really going to be about, can we get the infrastructure in there to like do that reliably. But I think the idea is to just do a quick like post game show right there in the stadium after the games, that's recorded but released like the next day ideally. And that'll be more just kind of reactions. We'll try and interview fans and maybe players if we can do that. We'll see about that. But yeah, the idea is to just kind of capture the vibe and the atmosphere after the game in the stadium, to see how people are feeling and just kind of give that kind of immediate like after game content that I think sometimes people are wanting to like decompress after either a really exciting game or a really frustrating game. So that's kind of the idea there. Again, we might look to do it live sometime for some of these bigger games. But again, it's really just going to come down to the infrastructure and what USD will let us do. So that's kind of the idea there with the post-game show.
Yeah, they're moving into the midweek one. We kind of also want to do like a preview for the next game. So obviously the show won't always be kind of midweek, depending on when the game's going to be. But kind of more of a video stuff, kind of get some clips in from the previous game, and then kind of preview the game coming up, kind of going over the kind of team we're playing, how they like to play, kind of what key players are there for them. Maybe break down some more kind of tactical stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, trying to watch the scout the opposition beforehand, watch as many games this season as well. So I'm looking forward to that, kind of getting some more knowledge about the overall USL, trying to take in as many games as possible to kind of help with that midweek show. But I'm really looking forward to that one. I think a lot of potential on that one too. But then like looking forward to games, breaking down the previous one. A lot can go into it. And like I said, a lot of potential for that show, I do believe.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to join, here and there. I love talking tactics, and I'm sure Drew and Jerry are going to listen to this and they're going to scoff at me, but I always wanted to talk about tactics a whole lot, and they go, "Ah, you nerd! Come on, let's not talk about that stuff. This is a supporters podcast." So I'd love to kind of get in the weeds a little bit too. And then it's hard not to notice that there's a lot of people that put USL footage on Twitter and stuff like that, and they don't get taken down or they don't have copyright stuff. So I'd love to be able to maybe analyze some game footage and look at some of that stuff. I highly doubt the club will give us access to their tactical cam, but I can ask and we'll see what the answer is.
The famously open Nate Miller will definitely give it.
Right.
But
So you'll be dealing with that.
I'd love to kind of do some of that stuff. That'd be super fun.
Yeah,
yeah, I know of the
and Vegas's game film from behind the goal.
Yeah.
Or from the side, like 2 feet off the ground and shaking.
Mm-hmm.
Or they asked their mom to film it for them. So good luck with the Vegas games.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Max.
But yeah, obviously, I know a lot of people like John Morrissey over on Twitter, the USL Tactics, does a lot of good stuff on there. So kind of piggybacking on him a little bit, kind of going through obviously his stuff, and then because I've got up here he's got a great kind of little resource here going through breaking down the schedules and kind of difficulty of each game and like a 3-game kind of average rolling through that. But also I know John posts a lot of good stuff on Twitter, so kind of use some of that too. He's kind of going a bit deeper into that and obviously make it more kind of San Diego loyal based to kind of help people get ready for the next game, and maybe people who kind of aren't big into soccer kind of understand it a bit more, and just so they know kind of what to prepare for the weekend. Yeah,
I think that'd be super exciting. I think that'd be really, really rad. So looking forward to it, you guys. I'm super to have you guys on board. Happy to have you guys on board. Like, I think it's a huge addition to the overall podcast network that we're working on. And I think that, it might be skipping a couple items ahead here, but Jason, it might be a perfect time for you to talk about what your ideas are for the rest of
that's where we
are. Shows that we're going forward in 2023.
Yeah, that's where we are. Kind of winding down here. So we've got these guys jumping on board with the stuff that they're super passionate about there. And then we're kind of looking to break up. I touched on it in Discord, break up and have kind of different shows. Last year we had the overall show and then the loyal kind of hangout afterwards, so that you could kind of find the news if you needed it in the shorter section, and then it was just kind of hanging out, like again the pandemic show after that. So this year we're going to try and structure it a little bit more, where we even pull out the news and have like a 15-minute, maybe like just the news, probably John Cross, maybe some members of leadership, kind of just reading the news, getting you ready for what's upcoming. Some of this is cross marketing, so we might have a quote or two from Max on there, whether he's actually on the show or not. Just say like, hey, coming up this weekend, here's what Max thought about the upcoming game. Remember, we're having a parking lot. Remember, the scars are available, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. But that's important because we do get a lot of people who show up on Friday and are like, wait, is there a parking lot this weekend? And then we say, well, why didn't you listen to the podcast? And like, because it was 2 hours long and I didn't know when. So like, we really want to help you guys out and listen to you guys and be like, yeah, we want to have the news available so that you can listen to it on your way to work real quick and be ready for the weekend. If that's what you're into. So that's the kind of the first show. Second, we're looking to do more interviews, and kind of what Max is doing with the midweek show. Max and Dylan are doing with the midweek show as they work on it. We are kind of doing using that midweek space and the interview space to get to know some locals. So still my favorite podcast, one of my favorite podcasts. Beyond the pandemic, which is when I got to know Steve and Drew and Jerry every week and like got to know them really well, is when Nicole was on, I guess maybe 2 years ago now. And it was kind of like get to know Nicole. And I thought that was really awesome. And she's such a dynamic person, and there's so much in her life that's so interesting to me. And I know we have hundreds of people that are like that, right? Maybe some that aren't that interesting, but we have some interesting people as well. So when you find out things about Nicole and what she's passionate about, why she's passionate about it, you find out these sorts of things. Though that really kind of ties us together as a community when we find out things about each other, know things about each other.
That's one thing that I definitely missed about when we transitioned from the 2020 2021 show, and it's something that didn't really happen as much going into last year, and even into the previous year before that. So it's kind of John and I and you, and we were talking this off season, and it was kind of like, let's start doing those interviews again. And even players, the club is always like, if you guys want access to players, let us know to do interviews and stuff. And that's one of the one of my favorite podcasts was when we interviewed Ryan and when we interviewed Matt Hall. Like those ones were so rad because you got to know people that you don't really have time to sit down and talk to unless you do it this way. So that's one thing that I really wanted to bring back, and I'm super, super excited for.
And we want to see those people that we all see around and maybe don't know the story, right? Like you're saying Matt Hall, right? Like I'd love to get Beto on, right? I want to get the Kitman on. I want to get these people that we see around or we know, whether it is front office. I don't know that we've had to sit down with Weston, and we're thinking, Weston, we have so many new members as well who may not know who certain people are, or again, like haven't seen that Matt Hall video or know that we could do things like that. We really didn't do that as much last year.
Yeah.
But we want to do that. We want to do it with players. We want to do it with locals. We want to do it with even as part of like an Eye on the Enemy series of the SG that's coming up, especially now looking at like knowing that Jack Blake's going to Indianapolis. When the Indy 11 come, I guess we're going there, right? Try and catch up with Jack again, or try and catch up with if there's somebody that was here, a year one player that we want to catch up with if we run into them, or someone who we had Chris on last year from Black Diamonds, and he talked a lot about what they do. I'd love to find out about again what the passionate stuff that is happening around the league with people just like us in New Mexico, in Indianapolis, in Hartford, Dan the Man up in Monterey, get to know a little bit more, and then touch base. Now Max is going to be doing a lot of this, but kind of touch base with them of like, okay, so what should we look out for this weekend, right? Who's in good form? What are you looking for this weekend? How do you think you're going to beat us? That kind of stuff. So possibly like an Eye on the Enemy, and these would be different places throughout the year when and where we can get people. But we'd like to start off and we'll probably, maybe get to know leadership a little bit better, or maybe people who have a new podcast on our network named Dylan and Max, and talk to them first to kind of get rolling, so that Max sounds a little bit different than the rest of us. I wonder why. So maybe we can figure that out and have a little discussion there. See what's going on with that. And again, I'm thinking of it as we're all locals, right? But not everybody. That's going to be my big question: is how did you become local to San Diego, right? Because we all started. Some of us started in Escondido, some of us started in Point Loma, some of us started in England or Philadelphia or Mexico or Colombia, right? So like, there's really interesting stories that I think we could tell here. So that's going to be part number 2. Part number 3 is going to be the lounge. We're going to be hanging out again, and we're going to let you talk more about what's on Discord. Go again a little bit crazier. We won't really have any reaction in those first 2 to games that happened, and I know that that's a big part of being a fan. So that's going to be that's going to be much more open to people. And really, with all these things, we want you guys to come in again, giving us questions in the chat if somebody says something, or we find out in the Discord everyone's connections to Copenhagen, right, this last week and stuff like that. So if you're around for interviews, those will be live. If you're around for the lounge and hanging out, we want you to maybe even possibly drop in. We'll send you the link and you pop on just like this. We're not rocket science. Well, Steve might be a rocket scientist. I'm not exactly sure. But I'm not. So we'll send you a link and you can pop on and talk about whatever you want to talk about from the weekend. Especially if you go to a road game, we want to hear about that from people who were there, right? So that's a great thing to do in the lounge. We want to hear what you thought about Barking Lot, what you thought about the games. So that's going to be more for they're all for everybody, but that one we for sure would love to have people cycle through and just hang out for an hour or two, right? Like we've done before. Everybody pours a beer, just hangs out. And so if you've got a group of friends, or you know, kind of like I said in Discord, if you want to have a group of friends or a specific thing, or you want to have all the Liverpool people on one day, or all the Everton people want to come on, or whatever, you can do that. But let us know, because this is our, you know, we're not, I mean, other than the founders, you know, we're not gods here. We're just volunteers. So come on out. I'm still am nobody, and I was nobody 3 years ago, just trying to talk to Jerry on the lounge about emo bands and local bands, you know. So like, come on, this is our thing. So I do want to make sure that we're kind of wrapping up here. But those will be our 3 weekly things. And again, whichever one you're into, we'd love to have you be subscribing on podcasts. You hear people podcasts say that all the time. That's how you can help me the most. But it really is, because we are kind of honestly moving towards possibly monetizing here, even if it's just a little bit, to get a little bit every week. You know, we have to have a certain number of subscribers and views and likes and all that stuff. So, you know, I've got 4 different email addresses that I'm subscribed to. The locals, the Bum TV feed. So do that. Log into your parents, and you know, as you hear that. So we're gonna get moving along. So I just wanted to make sure that you are subscribing. I think we had 3 new subscribers since I started posting yesterday. So thank you to those 3 new subscribers. Went from 168 to 171. So just want to say thank you for your guys. I think we are probably going to hang out a little bit here, do our own little lounge after party, because people are here. We're going to hang out. We're going to say goodbye to people listening to this on the pod, probably cut the audio here. So thanks for coming out, everybody. But we are going to hang out and lounge.
Before we go, let's shout out to you know, we've got a couple new guests. Let's shout out their social media so people who are listening can follow them, see where they get their content. You know, Dylan, Max, why don't you guys pat your own backs a little bit, share your ats.
Well, I don't really use Instagram. I do have one. I think it's DM Wilson 94. But if you want to like see my thoughts on soccer and like infrastructure and like other things, DWill94, DWIL 94 on Twitter, for however long Twitter is a thing.
Yeah. we're all hanging on here.
Yeah.
And mine is obviously my full name Max Bristow, but my at on Twitter is Mr. Bristow HD. But yeah, Twitter's the main one for me as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, make sure to follow them.
We'll get those up in the podcast notes, so you can follow them, because they don't just talk about us. You know, Max streams, and Dylan yells about other things, including San Diego sports too. So, you know, we'll make sure we see them get followed and get a following, and you know, let's blow this up this year in a good way. Let's like a super bloom, not like a explosion. We don't want that. Like a super bloom.
Mr. Wise, super like, bloom.
Like an M80 that's kind of far away, you know. That's pretty good.
Yeah, there you go.
So, we're going places this year. Thank you for coming along with us, and anyone who is willing to help us out and contribute. Let us know. That's what these guys reached out and just had an idea, and now it's here. So, you know, we're trying to say yes and say, what do you need, and come on board. So that's it for me. Steve, anything else for you?
Nope. I just want to say let's go again. Let's, you know, here we go. 2023. It feels like yesterday we kicked this all off, but I'm invigorated. I'm energized. It's going to be a great season. So let's go.
All right. We'll see you guys a little after party here.
Yeah. Guys, hang around.
Nailed it. 1 hour. Let's go. 59
I saw we were
minutes.
I saw we were talking about the other shows at like 54:00, and I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. Who am I? I'm never on schedule with this stuff.
We did it. I think, yeah. Okay, that was good.
Yeah, that was fun. So what's up? Let's go. You guys got
What's
beers?
up? You're the guy who is going to Park City is asking us what's up.
Yeah.
Okay.
We fly out tomorrow. Fly out tomorrow for the week. My family has a house up there. I know. I'm lucky.
I meant the means to ask you about that person. I meant to. You guys own that place?
Not a feedback.
Is that like something we can pay you for, or is that how does that work?
My grandpa bought the house in like the 80s. It's been in the family ever since. So I was honestly super bummed when RSL, the RSL2 team bowed out of the league. The only away game Loyal ever played there was the first game out of the pandemic in 2020, and I wasn't going to go to that, and I was like, oh, I'll go next year, and then they left. So I was super bummed about that. But
let me know for people in the chat. Yeah, we know we're still live. Sorry, I got you. I gave you a little behind. You got a little behind the scenes taste there about me being excited that we kept it to an hour, but we know we're live with everyone. We're all family here, so
whatever.
Keep hanging out. But yeah, this is not just the three of us hanging out. Keep chiming in. If you want to jump in again, if you really, really feeling the Lord move you, let us know. But we're checking the YouTube comments. What's it? How is it out there, YouTube? How are you guys doing too?
Shout out. So Max, how do you feel about you and Charlie being the only two guys left from Kentucky?
I was when I saw the news about Blake, that's what I said about Don Dwyer the other day. I was like, I got to try and get another English guy back on the team.
Yeah.
But it's crazy now. Obviously, I got a little bit nervous with Charlie being the last one there, as obviously I know they're all good friends together. Obviously, Charlie and Carl were close together, so it's always tough being the only English guy left. But yeah, it's I wouldn't mind another signing here or there. So plenty of time left. Obviously, I was going through the website earlier to see when we made the signings last year to try and see if we're kind of, I guess, behind with signings. I know we haven't really lost too many players, but again, as a fan, you always want new players coming in every year. You always want the kind of new signings coming in. That's kind of, especially in the off season, the most exciting thing to kind of look forward to. So hopefully a few more signings coming along the way. I mean, obviously the January transfer window is open worldwide as well. So hopefully, and again, just wanted to strengthen the team really. I mean, you look at who we've lost. We've only brought one player in so far, and that's kind of, I guess, a Carl replacement. But who knows if he's going to be a better addition than Carl? Who knows? But obviously, similar kind of target man player. So obviously, we'll have to see. But hopefully, a few more signings coming along the way.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably do I'm not here to plan the next podcast, but I'm sure we'll do like a season preview pod. But I definitely expect where we talk, people who we brought back, new signings, positions to fill, starters expected, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure that's on the table. But I definitely expect a player to kind of fill the depth that Blakey, he left. And I'm surprised. I got to tell you, Blakey played pretty well on the right when he was playing basically out of position to accommodate Guido. But Guido's health scares me, man. I know he was healthy last season, but he's never had a healthy season before last, and I just get worried that his hamstring's gonna tweak a little bit, and we're not gonna have a attacking midfielder that's gonna plug and play the same way that Blakey could, and kind of keep this team rolling. And I just have worries that Nate likes to play things a little too idealistic, and bank on his players staying healthy. And if one player goes down, what's our backup tactic? What's our backup shape? Like, that kind of stuff scares me, man. It because like I said earlier, you get an injury, you get a bad run of form, and things could go downhill with kind of how streaky the schedule is. And that kind of shit worries me. So Blakey was a sad one for me, personally too. But yeah, that was a sad one for me.
Yeah, I think it's difficult in that midfield where you look around and wonder who's the backup. Like what? Like last year Landon talked about like, oh, we had 10 games in 6 weeks or whatever it was, we're probably going to have that again, right? Like with the Open
Something
Cup,
like
you're
that.
going to throw 2 more games into there, you would hope, into that first month, or I guess it's not month, but close to it. First 6 weeks, you're going to throw 2 more games in there,
Yeah.
and now you're looking at, you look at last year. I know Carlton started that first road game in Tulsa, right?
Tulsa,
Omaha.
yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so who's your we played on Saturday, we're playing Wednesday, and we're playing Saturday again. Is Guido playing all of those minutes? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we got
as
a
hard as
shout
it
out
is,
from the chat.
like Max is saying, as hard as it is to find talent in the USL, it's got to be harder to find backup talent in the USL, right?
That's a good point. All right, Max, you're being called out.
Yeah, I know, Ryan here. Obviously, yeah, I would say, obviously non-loyal player Josh Winderprom, my favorite player last season. Kid is incredible. Obviously, great to see USL producing talent like him. And I know, I think probably 2 weeks ago now, he was on trial at Benfica, or went to Benfica to kind of look at their facility. So it's good to see players like him coming through. And obviously, Louisville have been around for a while now. One of my former college coaches is the assistant there as well. And I know Louisville have been a kind of, since they started, they've always been a good team. So obviously, their academy's coming through now. Obviously, we've got Duran coming through as a goalkeeper. So
it didn't. Louisville had Jonathan Gomez too, right?
Yeah,
he's at
Real Sociedad.
Yeah, there it is, Real Sociedad. That's 2 players in that long to transfer to Europe. That's pretty remarkable.
Obviously, best player in the USL is a question that could be debated ad nauseum, but I'm pretty certain Josh Winder is definitely the most valuable player in the USL. I think Transfermarkt has him at $1 million now, which is
he cracked $1 million.
Pretty wild. He's what, 17, 18 still?
17 from what I
and his younger brother too, I think, has come through their system as well. So yeah, Louisville's academy is cranking
$1 million.
out
That's remarkable. Yeah,
I know, absolutely.
Here, right? Like we got. I mean, it's different because CJ went to SDSU, but you look at, we got a guy in the first round of the draft who didn't have to go to Dallas, didn't have to go to Mexico, didn't have to go to the earthquakes, right? Like he stayed and lived his life in Coronado, and now he's going to be, and today he's posting pictures from training with an MLS team, and it's just kind of wild to be like, yeah, that we have that, we can do that. OC did it last year. I forget who they sent out. What was Thomas? I think it was his name, right?
Yeah. Apparently there were some visa issues, but I think the plan there was always to sell him on, and they made a good chunk of change for that sale. So
yeah. So if that's something that
I think the challenge with USL is going to be convincing them to sign pro contracts with the USL team to then transfer, rather than go to college and try to get drafted to MLS. Like the route CJ went was great, and he's obviously a highly talented player. He got drafted to Austin. I assume he'll make it. You hope so. You hope that he'll make it in the next couple of years to get some MLS minutes, but you never know. He took that risk to go that route instead of a pro contract to get sold, to MLS or to Europe. But I think that's going to be that's like a lower league philosophical challenge here.
And it's different because we see Duran now going the other way, right?
I think he's got a lot of potential. Everything I've heard from all the inner talks from there is that he's absolutely legit, and that's he made the U17 national team. He got the call up there. Obviously, we've seen a ton of players, get the call up at youth national team level, and then they, whether they make it or don't, it's hard to judge talent at this young. But goalkeepers sometimes have a different level too, so it's a little bit of a different talent evaluation.
They're a little different too, because I think CJ would have been 16 already when Loyal would have started looking to recruit young players. He would have already been on State's radar, whereas Free would have been 13, something like that. So I think that there might just have been a timing element there too as well.
Yeah,
but it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see them come through here in whatever capacity, not have to leave, and not have to or get an opportunity. Maybe it wasn't there. Maybe if they didn't have the means to leave, or they didn't want to leave, they just wanted to stay here and do that, and then they get passed over because who knows what's happening in Fresno with that happening, or wherever else, where there's kids that just move on with their lives because they didn't have the opportunity. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see some more youth players here. We have Loyal Select. I don't go to the games. I can't evaluate the talent unless I see minutes. Like I liked what I saw to CJ when he did get minutes, but I would have liked to have seen more, that kind of stuff. But I understand that we've got a roster full of professionals and we're here to win games. And it's a balance between evaluating, developing players and evaluating youth and then grooming them as our next generation and grooming them to sell versus, playing the prime players now and winning games, with the most talent you have. So it's definitely a balance, and it's not an easy job that I do not envy. But I just, from a philosophical perspective, I love, these USL clubs that can balance it both. Like obviously Louisville, they're one of the best teams in USL, and they just sold 2 players or seemingly sold 2 players in the last couple of years to European teams. OC, yeah, last year they sold that guy, and the year before that they won, and last year they were terrible, but still they seem to have a little bit of a balance there as well. So like I'd love to find that a little bit where we have these kids that we're rooting for to really make it, and we also have guys like Blakey that we've fall in love with over the years, and Guido's fan favorite. You know what I mean? Like I'd love to kind of find that balance a little more. I'd love to see a little more youth here, but I guess I see the point of results first.
Yeah, I think it's too that we like it feels like we've been Loyal have been around forever because we've all been like in the trenches doing this now for 3 years, but it has only been 3 years.
Yeah.
So like we're still waiting to like bear the fruit of the investment in local youth soccer. So I like that's one of the things about people talk about you want to build like trust and like loyalty, no pun intended, in the community. Like longevity is not something that's at the forefront of people's minds, but it's like one of the most important things because the consistency is what builds that like fan base, that local like support. So just simply being around like each and every year, I think we'll start seeing more and more of that youth coming through.
Yeah. That's a fair point. It's a brand new club. So me saying this kind of stuff is just lofty expectations and putting too much on it too early. It's a fair point. It's just
I'm not trying to like bring your lofty expectations down.
No, but it's fair.
I'm coming at it from the other side. I have high expectations too, and I'm excited about what the future is going to bring.
Yeah. No, I think it's totally a fair point. But that's a good question right here in the chat too. Do you guys think being in too big of a market can hurt a USL club? And I think I'll just go, take it and say, yeah, I think it can. And I think it can because I think that there's a lot of people out there that are big soccer supporters, and they go, USL second division, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to wait for MLS to come, or like, oh, we deserve an MLS team, so I'm just, I'm not going to support this team. Like I'm just going to wait for MLS. You see it all the time whenever these big MLS rumors come around. You see the retweets, you see the the replies, you see it on Instagram, you see it everywhere. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, this would be amazing!" And it's like, well, we have a pro team here right now that was second in the West last year, and it's pretty good and it's pretty entertaining. Like, come be a part of it now. Don't you don't gotta wait for that. And something you'll see. I think something you guys will see more this year is support local soccer.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit tease there, but support your local team. Like, there's a lot of rumors flying around about the future of soccer in this town, the future of Loyal, the future of obviously MLS coming and Snapdragon Stadium and these billionaires from Egypt and the Saquon tribe. Like there's a lot of rumors flying around, and support your team now. Support your team for what it is. There's no reason to wait. There's no reason to say, oh, I'm only going to do this for MLS. Like do it now. Join the fun, join the party. If you're a true soccer fan and you should understand what how soccer and community and the city are intertwined and how much it means to us and how much it means to the city that we have a team in the first place. You don't see Sunderland fans because their team is now in League Two. Like they still go and support their team because that's their team, that's their community, that's their culture, that's who they're ingrained in. I'm not going to sit here and say that soccer culture here in San Diego or the soccer culture here in America is even close to that in Sunderland or England, but the point being, like, there's something to that, and it doesn't need to be first tier or top tier for it to matter. And so it's kind of my soapbox. You guys probably stand on the same soapbox, but
Yeah,
I think it does hurt. To answer the question, I think it does hurt because I think too many people think that it's too below them because they think
And the
it's
Sharks
too big
here.
of a
The
city
Sharks,
for
everybody's going to wait
USL.
for MLS, right?
Yeah.
Because
I
they
just
think
want
that
to
it'll come, so they'll just wait.
I want to point out the inherent logical like
Fallacy.
contradiction there of like we deserve an MLS team, so I'm not going to bother supporting the team we have here now.
Right.
It's like, oh, you deserve a team? Well, come out and prove it by like supporting the team that we have that's successful and like connecting with the community.
Cincinnati
Sorry, I
made
just had to
themselves
say that.
unignorable. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Cincinnati made themselves unignorable to MLS by what
Yeah.
they did in USL. They had 35,000 people at every game for 2 years because their city came out and supported them. And they really like did a great job of building that fan base and building that community culture. And MLS basically said, we can't ignore you anymore. And they gave them an MLS franchise. Like,
Right.
So I think
and MLS is still that, you know, and we can still talk as much shit as we want about MLS because we're not part of it yet.
Yeah.
But like you look at it, and I feel for people in New Mexico, right? Because so much of MLS is, San Diego's this big market. Let's stomp a team in there, right? Oh, Austin's this big market. Let's stomp out whatever's there. Miami's a big market. Let's stomp out the team that's there, right? And that is a concern if it's not a partnership. But then you look at New Mexico and it's like, what more can you do, right? Like you've got an entire state behind you. Sure, it's not a big state, but it's an entire state. They're selling out 12,000 seat stadium every game. Who knows how big it would be if they had a bigger stadium, right? Like they're selling out, that's MLS size crowds, 12,000 sold out every city because maybe it's a 14, 15,000, you know, if it was a bigger stadium. And that's not how these decisions are made. And it's just kind of like, well, what more can they do?
Yeah.
Where, no offense, you know, I love you all. But like, if we're getting 3,000 every night, and they're just like, "Oh, San Diego is the big market," it's kind of like, look at
right.
you know, like, you know.
New Mexico is a good example of why the closed system like can be detrimental to the growth of U.S. soccer.
Absolutely, you know, like, you know, taking the huge example of Leicester City, right? Like, nobody ever thought that they win the Premier League, and they did. Like, and I know it's like a one in a generation kind of thing, you know, whatever, but like. Still, you never know what can happen, and they'll never have. I wouldn't say they'll never, but you know, they don't have that chance. New Mexico doesn't have that chance, and yeah, they're a great culture, great community. Like, and even take the NFL example. You know, you said NFL fan. Like, look at Green Bay. Like, you think Green Bay would get chosen for an NFL franchise right now? I just could have a population of 107,000 people.
If Green Bay wasn't grandfathered in, like with the ownership structure, they would have moved to Milwaukee decades ago. So
if they were a club like fan owned, there's absolutely, you know, so like it's but it's so interesting to like look at it from that perspective. With the biggest league in the world, or not in the world, in the country, you know, they have a team in a small town, and they're successful. Like, they sell out every game, and they're absolutely nuts about it. So like it's an interesting aspect, but to answer the question, I definitely think it does hurt. I think that there's too many people here that think that it's not. They're just waiting, and that's wrong.
I am interested to see if we can. You know, there's been soccer marketing across American soccer, right? With Ted Lasso, and now like with Wrexham. But I think you can point to that Wrexham thing, right, and say like these guys are playing basically Sunday League, right? Like, yeah, they still have the stadium because the team owns it, but like they're in a league that's the lowest possible league. And look at those people, right? Like, yeah, that's us. Like, they're out there living and dying on what a team with no chance right now of the Premier League, right? And no chance. And then you look at when they go and play away, right? Same thing. They're playing in front of these sold out, whatever size stadiums they are, right? Like, it's the town's pride. It's the town's thing. And Max can obviously probably speak more to this, knowing more about that.
Kentucky.
But like when I'm looking, I'm just thinking of us here in American soccer. I'm like, so you're a big soccer fan. You're part of American Outlaws. You love soccer. You love the Wrexham story, and you're not coming out to Loyal. Like, what? Like, what are we doing here? But Max, talk more about like, because when I see Wrexham, I think like, look, if you can get behind that and you understand that, look at what's happening there. Why can't that happen lower league American soccer, right? Be that passionate.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And I think partly it's due to the fact with these other sports that they've got minor league teams, and people don't really go out and support minor league teams, and they consider the USL to be, again, a minor league. And you look at the San Diego Wave, they managed to sell out their stadium the first game they had play there, and genuinely women's soccer itself isn't that big anyway. I mean, 30,000 6 times a week can fit in our stadium. It's crazy to think that in a city you've got the women's team getting that many more people to a game than the men's team, which again in every city that rarely happens. But like I said, the main thing is that if we were in the MLS, we get a lot more people there just because it's seen as a major league. But in other countries, that their local team is their community. They kind of grown up going to their games, and it's what everyone speaks about leading up to kind of the weekend to match day. And kind of here, you've got loads of big teams in one city. It's kind of tough to compete sometimes. Obviously, in San Diego, you've really got the Padres. Obviously, the Wave are breaking in there now as well. But most cities in America, you've got kind of 3, 4, 5 major teams, and it's hard to compete for that space. Whereas in England, kind of obviously football, soccer is the main thing. Maybe you've got rugby here and there, but you can't compete with soccer. And obviously in England, you've got 92 professional teams in a country the size of, I think England's the size of Georgia, which seems crazy. I think Georgia's got like a population of 4 million people. England's got 50 million in that such a tight space, but you've got literally every little town, every little village has got a team, and people, no matter what, will go and watch their local team. And again, like I said, Wrexham are in the 5th division in England. There's probably 20, 30 divisions all the way down, and there is somehow the ability to get promoted all the way through again. Will it ever happen? Probably not. But there is teams who've gone up like 5, 6, 7 divisions and made it. You look at kind of Wimbledon, MK Dons, whatever. Wimbledon rose all the way through, got there again. There is potential there. But in America, I think the issue's always been is going back to kind of the early leagues where kind of teams went into administration, couldn't afford kind of the funding. And I think that's in the back of kind of owners' minds that they're scared of losing money when, what is it like now? It's like a $200 million kind of franchise fee to get in.
I think 300, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If not more.
And then you want to chuck in teams like in the USL to kind of imagine you drop down like an LAFC. They've one bad season, they go down a league. Do you think they're going to get the same amount of people at a game? No chance. And that team probably then will end up folding because they spent all the money previously to then drop down. And it's a tough one. Again, America, money is the main talking point, and unfortunately it's going to determine kind of how the league structures go in the future, I think.
Yeah, I've always said like the difference between Europe and America's, even sports teams in America, none of the top teams lose money, right? They spend and they win, but they still make money. But how many? Man City doesn't make money. Chelsea doesn't make money. They lose money. They spend more than they make, which is an inordinate amount, but they don't care because they just want to win. Like Roman Abramovich bought Chelsea. I mean, no, he's not the owner anymore, but he bought Chelsea and he lost billions and billions of dollars over the years, but they won a lot of trophies. And he was like, that's okay. I don't mind losing money. I want to win. Like, and that's such a different mindset between like the European owner and the American owner. I know it's Roman Abramovich is a shithole, so like really bad example, but like, like the point is, like the difference in the mindset is what's like huge here, regardless, c'est la vie.
And it's the approach to sports too. I mean, look at the way American sports, we use the words club and franchise interchangeably, whereas like in other countries, those are very different things. And I think it speaks volumes to the way we approach sports, that franchise, like we think of franchise in the sports term and franchise in the business term as separate things, even though they're not separate things.
Right.
And it's like, I think that says a lot about American sports.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But
and why it's hard for soccer to break through there, and the idea of again minor league soccer, right? Like we can't shake it, where it's like that's just, and that's what every single person asks me when they see the shield or the crest, and they're like, oh, they're like minor league, and then I have to be like, okay, you ready? Sit down,
deep breath,
buckle up. But I think that people, myself, that's where I came from, and that's what I grew up with. And we're taught to see those shiny things. But, people love minor league hockey, even here in town. And Philly had, like, the Flyers, and then they had the Phantoms, their minor league team. And if you couldn't afford the Flyers game, you went to the Phantoms game, right? And it was like, what's the difference, really, right? Just like you've been told that, like, you have to enjoy this because this is the top league. I mean, if you go watch college baseball, it just looks like a baseball game. Like, it doesn't look like a little league game, Like, really, what's it? Oh, they won 4-3. It's like, yep, just like you would have.
Yeah.
Preach, Jason. That's the thing that always gets me. It's like, how can you sit there and say, like, oh, well, it's not the highest level of play, so I'm not going to watch. Which, MLS is already not the highest level of play in soccer, but I digress. But then turn around to watch college football. It's like, it's the same thing.
That one to me is like the one where I see the most. College football and college basketball, which are like untouchable, an untouchable cathedral in this country, are to me, when I watch it, the biggest difference between pro and college. Like if you watch college baseball, you watch college softball, you watch college soccer, the difference isn't that much worse. And then I watch college basketball and I'm just like, people watch this, people love this, people go like to bat for this. It's just it's wild to me.
Yeah, to expand on that, we actually have a tournament where the lower league soccer teams here play the upper division soccer teams here. Like you'll never see Michigan play the Packers. Like you'll never ever see that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like even every year there's a chance for lower league soccer teams to play top tier soccer teams.
I saw somebody step in
MLS teams.
Somebody stepped in it the other day when Wrexham won, and the guy was like, "There's really no way to tell Americans what this is like, but it would be like if a football team like we literally have the same exact like it's the FA Cup. We have the literal exact. The only thing that we have that's exactly like Europe is the one thing that you say there's no way to say what it's like."
Yeah.
I have found to that point though that the U.S.
Lucas,
Open
I'm
Cup
old.
actually...
They were the Philadelphia Phantoms. Sorry, Lucas, I'm an
no
old
worries.
man. They were the Philadelphia Phantoms. I'm old school. I can still name them. Peter White, Vinny Prospel came from there. He ended up being good, and then they had a guy, and Neil was their keeper forever. Like they were just guys that like, and this goes. Sorry, I cut you off, Dylan.
No, you're good. Go for it,
but
man.
like, and thinking of that, Peter White was probably the captain of the AHL Phantoms for the entirety of me growing up. So from when I remember at like 8 or 9 until I was 14, so he was probably there for 5 years, right? 5-6 years. Made a career as a player in minor league hockey, right? Took his 50 grand, whatever he made. Why can't we have that for soccer, right? Like, why does it have to, or even football? Football is my big thing. How do we not have a minor league football team? Like, you have to be one of the best, however many it works out to be. What is it? 50 people on a team, 1,500. You have to be one of the best 1,500 players in the world at this, or else there's literally nothing for you, right? Like, why is there not a minor league football team in Fresno, USFL, that kind of stuff? Like, it just... Whew.
I'm not going to elaborate on this because this is a rabbit hole we could spend way too much time going down, but it's because America has like no respect for labor and they've outsourced it to unpaid people, basically, is my answer there.
Yeah,
but I don't want to go down that rabbit
civic
hole.
Pride. We're talking Max saying every single little town has a club. Wherever it falls, you have that, right? And we see what happened when the other guy took the other team up north to LA. There's no civic pride. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. That's when you find out, no, that's his team, right? That's his franchise. It's not yours. It doesn't matter that you got the tattoos. It doesn't matter that you spent your entire life savings on this stupid team.
Yeah,
it's owned by that guy. It's his ball, and he can take it home whenever he wants. It does not belong to you. Whereas what we're building, again, it could be the plug could be pulled on, it could be squashed. It actually belongs to, it feels like it belongs to us. That's the only reason I'm involved. It's because I feel like I'm on the bottom floor of something that I'm actually part of building, as opposed to coming in and hanging out and drinking at a baseball game and like, oh, look at them out there, right? Until on some whim, a guy's like, oh, let's move the Padres. Where were they going to move in '98? I forget. They're going to move them somewhere, right? But because they went to the World Series, they stayed. Like,
God bless Ray Kroc.
Yeah, because of the. Okay, for those of you watching Steve bounce, that means he's got a baby on his lap.
No, I don't. I just ends up bouncing.
Like, you're just used to it.
It's a bit.
I like you. You're like, oh, I got a baby, but you're just like used to rocking now. You're like, it gets dark, and you're like, oh, baby's sleeping. But yeah, the disrespect for labor, like you're saying, like we only support these teams that are the top level. There's only 30 teams. Your city's not going to get one. You're just not. There's no chance to get in there. There's no chance to get better. And so, but yeah, why why not come out and support something you can actually build and feel like you're actually a part of? And I feel a part of the Eagles fan base, but I don't feel a part of that franchise,
Yeah,
as much as I know it's in me and I'm part of the fan base. It's different from like actually feeling like I'm part of the team.
I think it's something that we've tried to instill in like the ethos of soccer versus other sports, right? Like, starting this, I understood the relationship between soccer supporters and their cities and cultures and communities, and how it influences, how we provide feedback to the club, and whether they listen or they don't is up to them, but then they can make their own decision. Like it's very different, right? Like it's just a very different back and forth relationship for other teams. Like
And
I
it's
think from the
newer,
very
we get
start, like the conversations with the club and with us, like there was that understanding, and I think that worked, and it continues to work. And I think that helps establish the kind of back and forth, like involvement on both sides.
And that
At
culture,
least I like to think
supporters culture too, right? Of
Yeah.
like, we'll actually hold you accountable. We don't just rubber stamp every single stupid thing you do. Why do the Cowboys still have the biggest fan base in the country when they haven't done anything in 25 years, right?
Right.
Like, but here, everything that we do reflects on us and what we've built, what we've helped build, what we say, what we do actually matters. So come
Right.
on out. For those of you who
Come
are
on
watching this for the first time, trying to find a local team.
There's another good question
after
on,
the World
do you
Cup.
think MLS rumors are hurting the club? And I don't think so in this case. I don't think
No.
that that's hurting our
Mhm.
club right now. I think if they lingered like they did forever, like with Sacramento, I think that would be a yes. And I think that situation sucks. But I don't think they're hurting the club right now. No.
The MLS
I think
reality
especially
might hurt
with
the club, but the
Well,
rumors aren't.
yeah. I think especially with the way that the rumors are kind of centering around Loyal, you could even argue it's generating some interest.
Yeah.
I
mean,
same thing. That's the other thing that happened this year is it went from seeing the crest and people saying, "Oh, so what are minor league team," to like, "Oh, so about soccer, like is MLS coming?" And I'm like, again, deep breath.
yeah.
Like maybe like I don't know. So
Yeah. No,
we'll
I
see.
mean,
But I met a lot of became friends with a guy due to our kids being in the same class this year, and then we watched the World Cup together. And now we talk Loyal and kind of be like, yeah, man, come out. Like what? I don't see why not. The tickets aren't that bad, even if they're quote unquote expensive compared to other places, as we've seen in the USL Discord. Like, come give it a try. I don't know why you wouldn't. Like, I'm just, even if it was minor league, like I'm a football fan and there was a minor league football team,
Yeah.
but I go to soccer games too, and I've been to minor league hockey games, and if I was really a soccer head, wild to not come on. And I'm hoping that the Wrexham thing does help that it gets people to be like, oh yeah, you can. It doesn't have to. The biggest show on TV is about a 5th division team. It's not like Hard Knocks with Man City, right? Like it's about.
And I think importantly too, not only the lower league team, but Wrexham so strongly emphasizes the like local support your local team kind of vibe, which is all what Loyal's all about. So absolutely. I think we can capitalize on that.
Saw a story about them the other day on maybe it was yesterday, yes. Just about how like it's become a tourist destination now. And the town is kind of like, whoa. And the guy that owns the bar there is like, my bar is always full. And like there's people from all over the world in my bar all the time now. And the like economic impact has been crazy. But
yeah. I mean, I don't Max, you said this Ryan guy, and he's asking the hard hitters tonight. This is a good one.
I know he's got some good questions this time.
Yeah, he does. These are good ones. This is like usually the lounge is like, what kind of cereal do y'all like? But these are like good questions. Any concern that foreign investment will come in and strip the soul of your club? Yeah. That's definitely concerning.
Absolutely.
Especially with how much sports washing is talked about now in the global game. We just had the World Cup in Qatar, Man City's ownership, Saudi Arabia involvement. Qatar is talking about buying, they just bought Newcastle. PSG, like it could go on and on, but yeah, sports washing is huge in our sport. There's definitely concern. I'd say maybe a shining light right now is that the rumored MLS guys from each of these Egyptian billionaires, they don't, as far as I've done my due diligence and research, I haven't found a hugely troubled past. I haven't found, human rights violations. I haven't found this stuff. And we don't know how things may go in the future. Are they talking to Loyal? Are they going to buy Loyal and bring them up? Are they going to absorb them? Are they going to work with the club? There's 100 ways this could go well. There's a handful of ways it could go very poorly and make this really complicated for us supporters here. And which way that's going to go, I don't know. I think one thing that we have to do is stay true to ourselves, and make sure that whoever comes in here, if or when MLS comes to San Diego, whoever that ownership is, they understand who we are and they know our values, they know our ethics, they know if they want our support, they have to earn it, and they have to show up to the table with certain qualifications and we are already bringing some of those qualifications with our history, with how we've spoken out against human rights violations in the past, and how we support LGBTQ communities. Like, there's 100 things that I could list here, but the point is, like, if we stay true to ourselves, then we can carry our own ethics, our own ethos, our own culture, our own community through whatever comes forward. And I think St. Louis has done that through their past 5 years of hell. But yeah, I think it's definitely concerning. I think it's definitely a concern, and I think it's definitely something that we have to just kind of stay strong and say, let's say, MBS, Saudi Arabia come in and they want to build an MLS team here. We have to come in and go strong and say, hey, whoa, like, you have concerning past, and if you want our support, this is what it's going to take, and let's talk about that. Let's go to the table and make sure that we don't lose who we are in this process by saying, oh, well, I'm going to sell my soul to the devil to get an MLS team, because I'm not at that point right now. Definitely
Not with what we've got. I think there was maybe a different. I don't want to say that you're selling your soul to the devil, because you just said that, and I don't want to say this. But when we're trying to get Soccer City here, right? It was trying to get soccer, and that was a way to do it. Right now that this way has come,
it's a long story. Yeah.
Right. But now that this way has come around, and yourself, a lot of the people, and there's people that we know that we're on the podcast and whatever. But there's people. John Cross, shout out to him back here, who helped build it. Travis, who helped build it. Sean, Duffy, who's been DK. Like, there's people who that we know, and there's people who have quietly done this as well, who we don't know their faces or their names, who put a lot into soccer in San Diego, right? And so I think that now that we have this and there is a soul here, we don't have to build it. Like, if they dropped MLS here from Soccer City, we would have made that work, right? And we would have built whatever culture that would have been, whatever would have worked. But now we have it, right? That is here. Like he's saying, that strip the soul. Like, we do have the soul. If someone wants to come in and amplify that, fine. But you have to amplify that, not crush. Like, if you crush it, I know it'll work out because it's working in Miami and it's working in Austin and whatever. But like,
it's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's an entirely different if we want to go here, let's go here. Like, these MLS guys come in and they work with the club and they say, well, what you guys have is great and your supporters are great, and they talk to us and they say, we don't, what you guys have built is great. If they come in, my biggest thing through all this, through all these rumors, and I hear things that I can't share. I hear things that we can't talk about. But my whole point that I've said back is, we deserve respect that we've built. We've built respect, and the club has built respect. And it might be a USL club, and these Egyptian billionaires might go, whatever. But no, there's respect there. Like, it's not easy. How many teams have come and gone here? How many rumors have there been through the past? And Loyal's done it, and they did it through a pandemic. And we've done it through a pandemic. And so, like, the respect needs to be there about, hey, you guys coming in, you guys want to build an MLS team? Let's talk about who's already here, and let's not ignore the work we've done. Let's not push that to the side. Let's talk about using that foundation and expanding on it. And that's like the biggest thing to me is, like, don't come in here and just say, they get 7,000 people, plus or minus, every 6,000 capacity, but if you go, returning guests, that kind of stuff, and the supporters, they're great, but whatever. Like we want to do our own thing. We don't want to start with that with that team. Like I want to do our own thing. Like that's a different conversation, right? Like how do we handle that? How do we do that? And that's just like inordinately complicated from my perspective, the president of the supporters group, because fuck, I don't want the work that I've done to disappear over the years, but I love this club and I don't want this club to just be stomped on and disrespected like that. So how do I manage that personally and as the president of the supporters group and as 400 members? Like, so it's just like I said just before, there's 100 ways this could go right, and there's a handful of ways it could go wrong. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm optimistic. I think that, Darren's talked about it on his show. He's talked about it on the, and on Twitter. Like all these stars could align really well. There's interest. The Egyptian billionaire guys they're soccer people. They own soccer European teams in I think in Germany and in the Netherlands. So I think they understand how much it matters to come in and not be disrespectful. And I think that they understand that. I think that the people in the loyal front office and ownership and investors and that kind of stuff, I think there's a lot of humility there to not go, hey, my club is worth this much, and then the opposition goes, no, you're worth 1/10 of that, and they don't, and then they go, oh, well, we're never going to work this out, and then it never works out. Like I think there's a lot of pieces in the right places, but we've seen it 100 times. Things don't always work out, and it's really concerning. It's concerning that one, we've got to build this pyramid of playing cards, and if one thing falls, it could fall apart. It's concerning, but at the same time, that pyramid looks pretty damn special at the end of the day, and I'm hopeful that it all comes together. I don't know at this point,
Yeah, and if it doesn't, I think the nice thing though this time as compared to Soccer City,
it's a different story.
Even if you're looking at it like I don't want to call us a safety net to fall back on, but like we'll at least have this, right? Like it's never like if this guy drops out like they did in Sacramento, right? Where I'm fine with this, right? If it and everyone else has to make their own peace with supporting a minor league soccer team. But for me, like this is fine. This is fun. This is what that first game that I went to, where the tactics weren't exactly beautiful. And I sat on the sideline and was like, I don't want to be here. I want to be over there because they're having fun, right? So for me, as far as the locals go, we're always going to have this. If it doesn't work out, if we get screwed like Sacramento got screwed, we're not there just with our hat in our hands. We're here with our best friends, right? So, it's nice to have that. But there is concern. I think the way that Ryan worded that is that's the only thing I'm really worried about is the soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be cool if MLS comes. I'll probably go, right? Unless someone like literally spits in my face from Egypt. Like I'll probably end up going however it works out. But what's the soul going to be? And what's that worth? And does it matter to Egyptian billionaires? Does it matter to Don Garber? Right?
Yeah, well
and like and for us it does, and that's why we're building this, right? We're not saying come out and watch because we came in second in the West because of whatever. But to me, it's about the building the community of whatever it is. This is what we've got, right? Baseball's there too. And you've got some other minor league teams, and you see what the Sockers and the Brujos are building. But like as far as the community, which is huge, like the soccer community in San Diego, if you're talking like youth soccer, right, is enormous. And this is part of that infrastructure now. Is what we've got, what Wave have, that there is, it really is a community. And when you see, I noticed it when I went to the Wave game. The one Wave I didn't go to the first game, obviously, because that coincided with the Phoenix game, and obviously I was at our Phoenix match.
Yeah.
Shade, but I went to the second one, and like I went with my buddy from college, who we're close-ish still, and he was like, "Dude, how many friends do you have?" And I was like, I'm everywhere I turn around, I see somebody else from the community, and I dab them up, and it's like I don't remember. I think I did see Dylan there, right? And just seeing people everywhere you turn around. I see DK there, and we're talking about height limit stuff, and this, my friend's sitting there looking at me like, who is this guy?
DK's the man.
And I'm like, I'm nobody, right? I'm nobody, but like all of us are nobodies, and we're all nobodies together, right? And that's for me what I'm looking for. I compare it to church all the time. I don't, I'm not religious anymore, so I don't have that, and that's the way I grew up. But that's what it is. You see people out, and you're like, oh, hey, you see people around, people at high school football games, right? Like that community of seeing people around, and I love it, and it's great that it kind of includes the wave. It includes running into people at wearing my loyal stuff when I'm at Albion, my girls' Albion soccer teams, and people go up and talk about it, right? So
yeah,
that's awesome. And we're growing. We're trying to grow. We're trying to grow, not just for the sake of growing, though. So I do want to say that to people that are still hanging out here at 9:46 in our first off-season pod, of like, we're not looking to grow just to grow or just because of MLS pressure or whatever.
Yeah.
But because we find people like Max, because we find people like Dylan, because we find people like me, even, a year ago, I was not involved until 2 weeks. I was still 2 weeks away from being involved in anything a year ago. Right. But we can find passionate people and find this community and grow it and make something special. So I really do appreciate all of you, and anybody who's going to come out or bring a friend, or if somebody stumbles across this because they search San Diego soccer on YouTube, come out and like be part of what we're doing, because it's awesome, and you don't have to be special. You just gotta like soccer. You don't even have to like soccer, really. I mean, even if you just like beer, come out for that. Like, even if you just like jumping around and yelling at refs, like, come out for that. That's my favorite part of it. So,
yelling at the refs. Yeah.
or if you're from and there's so many, also for me, so many transplants. Like, I went to that Padres Phillies NLCS and was like split down the middle of. It was the weirdest experience. I've never been to a game where I legitimately didn't care who won, and like cheering for anyone felt weird, and cheering against anyone felt weird. It was awful. But like, this is again something you can build. So like, if you're from wherever and you're from let's say Philadelphia, right, and you're one of the fans of the Big Four, you can come out here and go crazy with us, and it doesn't impact the fact that you like the Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies, like, because this is its own thing, which I think is really cool. And like, if you want to be part of San Diego, this is going to be part of it now. This is something you can support local.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a huge discussion. I think that it might hang over this might be big rumors, and we get leaks and stuff over the next couple of months, and maybe the whole season. Who knows? I know that article really said 2024 for MLS, and if that's accurate, that scares the absolute shit out of me, because that's really fast as far as building a team, and by team I mean roster, by how we handle things. Like, that's absolutely really fast and really scary, but also exciting. So I don't know. I think that it's going to be a long saga. But what I have been kind of told is that this one is a little more real than all the other ones that have come back. That have come back and come around. There's
MLS
been there's been other teams. There's been other not teams, but like groups that have come around with interest. But this is definitely the one that has the most interest. And yeah, Ziegler is he's got sources. He's got places in MLS that he hears things. He's got places around town. As much as he's a pariah. He's marginalized a lot of us in the past. He's still their soccer writer, and he's going to report that way. So yeah, I don't know.
That's to me what makes it feel big, right? When you say it that way, like, what it would have to take for Mark Ziegler to run this, in my opinion. So my opinion is, if he's not gonna hear something and rush in, he's not Jonathan Tannenwald, who's gonna be like, oh, I heard that, right? Like to get that guy to actually put his pen to paper and write an article about soccer, it's got to be pretty real.
Yeah, we'll see. And like I said, if 2024 is really their angle here, if that really is true,
Jesus
I
Christ.
would expect we hear some stuff and some leaks here. I would assume that would have to come out pretty soon. I don't know about January, February, March, but I'd assume in the next several months that there'd be another big drop like that that'll tell us either way about how things are, and that's going to drastically change the future of us and change the future of the club, and so it's going to be huge. It would anyway how this goes. 2023 is an absolutely pivotal year for the future of live soccer, pro soccer, and pro men's soccer in this town, in this city.
All the more reason to come out to Torero and enjoy
Yeah.
it while it's here at the intimate little venue we've established and all the fun we have. Just come on out while we know what it is, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Also, I just want to
there's-
be there so that when people come out, they're like, "Oh, that guy! I know that guy." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been here. What's up?" That's what I said. I said we need to rename our supporters group the Little Red Hen so that when people show up, they remember who did all the work to get the bread that they're eating right now.
That's like, and that's it's. I think the MLS talk is almost a when, not an if at this point. As far as if not 24 or 25, several years down the line, I don't trust MLS with one shit that they're done expanding. If you're going to get people to still pay $350 million in expansion fees, and I still think that, San Diego is always going to have huge interest from MLS and from investors with location, with support, with everything about it. So it's almost a when, not if at this point. It's just a matter of how it happens, and how it goes down is just going to be the biggest part.
Yep. Yeah.
We will see.
We will. But
The gatekeepers. There you go, Jerry.
the gatekeepers. That'll be me. Have I become a gatekeeper? Oh no. No, I'm not, because I'm still inviting everyone. Like, yeah, there's this
Right.
place for you.
Gates
We're the
open.
opposite of
Come
that.
on in.
Exactly. So we're here, but everybody's welcome. That's why I'm trying to make like a tagline for one of the shows and be like, it's locals only, but like when you're here, you're local, or like some way of being like, I don't know, of like, yeah, it's only for us, but you can easily become one of us. Something like along those lines, because we hope to be inclusive to everyone, even if they're British or ginger or both, like we hope to. And I think every birthday we adds to our legitimacy, right? Of like, hey, if this guy's coming out here and watching quote unquote minor league soccer, come on.
And to be fair, the atmosphere at games, I would say to anyone who's been to an English game, probably is better at San Diego. Honestly, I mean, the fact that fans are singing all game. You go to an English game, fans don't sing all game. They sing probably for a small part of the time. And if the team is performing well, everyone goes quiet. Again, you got games like the I don't want to bring up again, but the LA Galaxy game where we got absolutely hammered, but people were singing their hearts out all game. And I think even Coke said after the game that fans were clapping, still singing. Like, if that was back in Spain, everyone would be silent. No one would say a single thing. So, yeah, the atmosphere is crazy.
There's the baby.
Lydia said I have to pee, so she's just giving me the baby.
Okay. Go back to sleep.
Yeah, she's wide awake right now.
Welcome, loyal member number whatever you are.
Don't know.
4.
Yeah.
Did you save any? You didn't buy out like the string of 1 through like however many you might need.
No, we signed Bryce up when Lydia was pregnant. He's 11, but we didn't think about future children, so they're all gonna share member number 11.
Okay, there you go. That's good. Well, we'll make sure that the membership allows that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like drummers, you like drummers at games. Yeah, I think that's part of. I know Maxie talked about the English kind of style. That's definitely not the English way, but it's something that certainly is American. I think a lot of American soccer supporters ethos is based on like South American kind of style, and that's very English, or I'm sorry, very like South American drummers, that kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely. And Chavos, the other supporters group here, they've done a lot with drums, and that's kind of like a lot of what they do and who they are. So in addition to way more, like that was an oversimplification, but
Yeah.
that's they have a lot of drummers and they're good at it, and we're obviously open to working with all types of supporters groups and all types of supporters to try to blend all these styles to come up with like something really uniquely San Diegan. That being said, we have incredible drummers too. Andrew Dyer, Jerry Barra, he's watching and chiming in here. I try to do my best, but it is what it is. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. Yeah,
We like
drummers are a big part
SG
of being here.
drummers though, not hired gun drummers like at
Yes.
OC.
Like at OC.
Who's
That always
a
makes me
drum
laugh.
line? Who's the drum line from Orange County Regional High School?
Yeah. Terrible.
But it's and Ryan's point, if you're a Lou City fan, I don't know where you're from necessarily, but right here, there's such a we're a border town, so we're gonna have that whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah.
And we do like it, so that works out. We're not like telling the drums to be quiet because we need to be the British austere. We only sing when something happens or whatever. For me, it was different because that's not where I came from, and even coming from Philly and being a Union fan, like I think they have like a drum or like a drum or two, and they have a big SG, but like there's like one drummer that kind of keeps the beat for whatever they happen to be singing at the time. So for it to be driven that way, you can kind of see like what's happened with LAFC, and that's what I want. I want those big like Lord of the Rings like orc drums of like
those are so expensive.
I know, I'm sure they are, but like when you go there and it's just like rattling the stadium and you just feel that like you don't want to compare it to war obviously, but you think back to like what the Haka did, right? Of like, hey, maybe if we beat our drums loud enough and we are intimidating enough, it's gonna shake the other side and they're not gonna want to be here, right? And you can kind of feel that in that stadium. And that's something that I think that we have too, whether we talk about it being necessarily intimidating because I don't think we're an antagonistic group by any means. We've had discussions about that all throughout the last year. But really what we're focused on is our team and supporting our team and not being...
There's a banter aspect, right? Of course there is.
There is.
Yeah.
But like I think of, when I'm watching teams, and I've heard Nick say a lot of times, like we don't sing the... come on, loyal, score a goal. It's really very simple, blah, 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 blah. Because usually when you're singing that, your team hasn't scored. They're struggling, and you're kind of giving them like come on. Like it's a little bit derogatory towards your own team of like, we'd love to go crazy, but you have to score the goal first. Let's go. And just, Nick saying like everything that we want to do from 109 is supportive of our team and of our players. So like, yeah, there's gonna be times where we stop and we scream at the ref when things are going crazy. But you're not gonna have the I saw somebody chanting at Harry Kane the other day, you let your whole country down, or something like that, right? Like that's not necessarily what we're focused on.
Hey, well, Max is right there.
I know.
Hey, don't remind me of that game.
Trigger warning, TW. But we're not focused on that as a group. And I really do like, again, getting back to, we're building it, right? If you haven't, we really do want to try to let people know like that your ideas are welcome here. And it's something that we need to focus on, maybe even as leadership, to be better at, of like what our ideas, what that we can do, and not just like, well, this is the way we've always done it, right? And we want to be open to that and kind of let it drive who we are and what people are feeling about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we should cut it right at 10 o'clock if anybody else has anything weighing on their minds. I appreciate it, Ryan. Make sure that you are subscribed so you can pick up all of our shows. Appreciate you having around. We were just added to the USL Discord today. Some of the leadership people just kind of like jumped in there, and we'll kind of be mining them too for like, hey, come and check out Max's show, or maybe we have make a connection there to have somebody come on and talk about their team. But yeah, we're hoping to expand our footprint this year with the pods, and we thank you for sticking around tonight.
Yep. I'm good to go.
All right.
Have a good night.